How many people were at the, know what this is? What is it? What's special about this beer cup? This is a beer. This is the first time I've seen this, so you can tell that I don't get out that often. But this is a beer cup, as you know, those of you that've seen it, that fills from the bottom. It's kind of an incredible thing. I'm going to keep this, and you can't use it at home because, you don't, unless you fill it this way and you somehow do that. Because you don't have one of these things that fills it up from the bottom. But I think this is unique, and District Governor Bill said, we could have a rotary wheel there. What a wonderful idea. And it encourages you to chug it down because the quicker you drink it, the faster you'll see the wheel, which is the real essence of what's going on. I guess I should do my job here sometime, but that never worried me. My job is actually to try and help you to appreciate a Rotary District Conference and what goes on here and what's supposed to go on here, not this kind of thing. But it always starts off, and I guess I should start it off with by rearranging the place here. But it starts off by mentioning the president's rep, PDG Tom and Barbara. Is PDG Tom here? Or Tim, excuse me. Oh, I see you there. I thought you the most important part. But I thought you left. You told me you might not be here tonight. So welcome. District Governor Bill. He's here tonight. I sat next to him. Stand up, Bill. Stand up, Bill. You're the district governor of this district. And First Lady. My aides, they drew the short straw here. My aides, PDG Dean and Nancy. And the county of La Crosse Administrator Steve O'Malley, who gave us a kind of a wonderful introduction. Steve, like you, I was maybe the fourth or fifth person to be asked to represent Rotary and say a few words here, but we all have to do our job. Thank you, Steve. How to really get the most out of the district conference and to maximize your time spent here at this district conference. How many people are here for the first time? First district conference. Stand up, please. Stand up, please. Look at, that is, thank you very much. That is absolutely wonderful because we need more of you here. We need more first-timers because generally, if this is your first district conference, it will not be your last if you have a good experience at the district conference. And what makes it a good district conference? I'm glad you asked. But your first step in appreciating a district conference is to read the conference booklet. Rotary has had a wonderful literacy campaign, so all of you should be able to read the district conference bulletin. And I would recommend it to you. Why? Because you get so many great hints as to how to go about appreciating this district conference. For example, it starts with the first message from the president. Our Rotarians, this is on page 3 if you don't believe me. You thought I was making this up. A lot of speakers make up what they say, but I have it here on page 3. Our Rotarians, this is a letter or a greeting from our president, Barry Rassin, to all of you. Our Rotarians need to feel the value of being a member of your Rotary Club. Listen to that. They need to feel the value of being a member of your Rotary Club. So what happens? I noticed there's a lot of club presidents and president-elects. It's all of our jobs, not only the club presidents and presidents-elects. It's all of our job to make our members feel valuable, is to add value, folks. We add value to our communities. We do that by adding value or the feeling of being valued to our members. That's a mission that we all need to take on. Now, if you turn the page, there is a welcome to the 2019 District Conference by our district governor. And one of these things says, La Crosse has a vibrant downtown scene, and the passport you received at registration will guide you to hotspots having diverse international flavors. Guess what those flavors are, mainly, of these hotspots? If you don't know, then you better go to your passport. Because the passport, Greece, $1 off Greek beer. Next page, Italy, 2-for-1 drinks. Next page, America, I guess we're not known for drinking. Next page, Mexico, 2-for-1 drinks, and so on and so forth. Take this passport with you, it's kind of valuable. And I was told by my aide and by the district governor, proud members of the La Crosse community, Steve, you should know this too, that around here, close by, within a 3 or 4 block radius, there are more bars and drinking establishments than in many other towns and cities of this size. So, you need to take advantage of that. We all need, and further reading, page 6, right after my talk here, it says banquet and opening remarks, featured speaker, me, at 8:45, I better hurry up, late night fun, downtown La Crosse, passport. You know, we chuckle and we sort of make light of these things. But I'll tell you one thing, folks, and this is key to how to appreciate district conferences or many district functions, that Rotary does not happen here in these plenary halls. Rotary indeed does not even happen in the breakout sessions, interesting though they may be, and educational though they may be. Rotary happens when we have fellowship in the hallways, in the downtown establishments, and we share fellowship and a pint maybe, but that's where Rotary actually happens. So if you really want to get the most out of Rotary and your experience, then you have to participate. You have to go to these places. You have to enjoy the fellowship as our inspirational talk earlier this evening mentioned the value of fellowship. Paul Harris, an attorney, was kind of lonely. A lot of attorneys are kind of lonely, you know, when they start out. So he asked his friends, you know, several of his friends, come on, let's have fellowship. Our organization, one of the primary legs of this stool called Rotary is fellowship. And sometimes I think we just take it for granted, or we ignore it, or we overlook it. But it is important, folks, and we talk about the family of Rotary. If you can't have fellowship, you can't have family. That's simple as that, you know. You need to, because we need to feed off of each other's energy and enthusiasm and spirit. Don't intellectualize it, but feel it. Feel the energy of your fellow Rotarians. Feel the fellowship. Feel the family. Feel the support. And then you'll get Rotary. And that's kind of by the way, I was going to talk about my journey here to make it here on this stage. You know, I was at the convention, the international convention in Hamburg. Who knows where Hamburg is? Oh, there's some of you, 7 of you know where Hamburg is. It's a town in Germany, of course, you know. I got up yesterday morning at 3 a.m. because I had to make a flight, otherwise I wouldn't be here. At 3 a.m. and I went from Hamburg to Frankfurt to Chicago to Madison, slept for a little while, and I drove here from Madison. I didn't fly, but that's part of my journey. But, you know, I put some effort into it. Why? Because last year's district conference, tri-district conference, I was invited, but at the last minute, I couldn't make it. I actually could, but I didn't make it. I was asked to be the keynote speaker at a district conference in Sharm el-Sheikh in the Sinai Peninsula in the Cairo district of Egypt. It was important, for Rotary. It was politically important because we're trying to cultivate. You know that Rotary has official status with 32 organizations, including the United Nations. I'm one of your representatives to the United Nations, and we are official. This next Rotary year, under President Mark Maloney, we will celebrate 75 years of our special partnership with the United Nations in Honolulu. Andy also mentioned that I was from Hawaii, which I am from, and I have a birth certificate to prove I was born and raised in Hawaii. In case you were going to ask me later on. But Egypt is important to Rotary. Why? Because in Egypt, in Cairo, is the headquarters of an organization called the Arab League of Nations, to which we don't have representation officially. They are voting on it to allow Rotary to be represented. You know, politically, they kind of have stalled us for years and years for several reasons. One is that we're a United States incorporated entity. Rotary is incorporated in the state of Illinois. Okay. That's their problem. Another one of their problems is that they correlate Rotary with the Masonic movement, because early in our history, and sometimes still today, you've had to have been a Mason to join Rotary in several countries. So we have two strikes against us as far as they're concerned officially, and they have very strong feelings about those two things. So we needed to go there and butter them up, because they may not really appreciate Rotary and what we do and who we are. Actually, they do, but the countries, the 22 countries that they represent, need Rotary. And I really don't care what the political guys say in Cairo, Egypt, but their countries need Rotary. And so, and we're there, of course, obviously. We're in Egypt and other Arab countries. So because of this, we need to have a seat at the table of the Arab League, so that when they're discussing certain policies that impact all of the Arab League countries, then we at least need to have some input as to their recommendations and decisions to all their member countries. So that's why it's kind of important that we try and negotiate that. So I had to be there because several of the officials of the Arab League of Nations were at the conference. So Sharm el-Sheikh, by the way, is the conference or the site that I think they had some Russians were attacked and assassinated at that seaside resort. And so it's kind of a dangerous place, but you know, the terrorists also have their goals and things like that, but I could care less because our goals are important, more important than theirs. So, just as a long explanation, that's what happened. I was called away to go to the Arab League of Nations and to try and work something out. At least we're in dialogue with them, and they're accepting us. And last year, I sit on a board of a foundation chaired by former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to the United Nations. So we met in Korea, and on that board is an ambassador from Jordan, who is the chairman of the executive committee of the Arab League. So he listened to me because I sat next to him at the. We were also invited, also chair of the, a member of that board was also the chairman of the Winter Olympics in Korea, South Korea then. So we had a nice box there. And so he sat next to me, and I was telling him how to take care of cold weather because it was freezing cold. And so we made great strides in getting closer and closer to the Arab League. So I've been invited again to make a presentation to the executive committee of the Arab League of Nations, and we'll see where we go from there. So long story, but that's why I didn't come to the to the Tri-District Conference, which I really was looking forward to. Things happen. I told you about reading the conference program. Also, what's President Barry Rasson's theme? Not you. No. What's President Barry Rasson's theme for this? Be the inspiration. What does that mean to you? Anybody? Set
the example.
Set the example. What? Inspire others. Do you know where the word inspire comes from? It's what? The what? I didn't hear that.
The dictionary.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. Inspire, like so many of our other words, comes from a Latin, and the base word in Latin is spire. Spire means breath, like spirit, same root. Inspire is to have breath in yourself, or life. Expire is the other way. When you expire, the breath leaves your body. When you're inspired, the breath of life radiates through you. And that's where the word comes from. So, be the inspiration. Barry is asking us all to be the spirit, the core, the liveliness of Rotary. Be the inspiration. And I notice in the district governor's greeting letter also, he said, don't let it stop with this year. You know, we need to continue our works. We need to take it forward. We need to move it forward. So, be the inspiration is a kind of a worthwhile message from your president and your governor. So, part of enjoying a conference like this, or any conference, is to really absorb what the Rotary president is trying to get across. It's not some complex oath or phrase or anything else. It's simple, down-to-earth talking to us as to how to be better Rotarians. You know, are we growing in numbers? We can't grow in numbers unless we start to add value to the life of people that we invite to become part of our membership. You know, the average, when we invite younger people, the younger generation, all the youth exchange and younger people, close your ears. The average length of stay is a year or less of membership. Why does this happen? You know, who knows what COL means in not you? in Rotary lexicon, COL. Bill. Council on Legislation. It meets every 30 years. And it's Rotary's, it meets every 3 years in Chicago. It's Rotary's Parliament or Congress or House of Representatives. There's one representative from every district, and they set Rotary's rules and regulations. And they met, and they just, you know, for the last 3 councils on legislations, they've been getting rid of many of the restrictions that some people see as blocks to younger people joining Rotary. They got rid of most of it. In fact, they're sort of merging Rotary Act and Rotary now seamlessly. It's about time, you know. But, you know, what I find, we don't need any more regulations to allow us to change the demographics of our clubs. We need a change in culture, Rotary club culture. Some of the clubs, the cultures, just scare people away. You know, they come because Rotary has a good idea, we have good sales slogans, but once they see how the club actually operates, they leave. You and I would leave some clubs too. culture. I'll give you an example. You know, before he unfortunately and untimely passed away, Sam Owari, you may not know him, from Uganda. He was our president-elect. He had an unfortunate incident, not an accident, but passed away before assuming the presidency. But Sam's real climb to fame from Uganda is that he grew Rotary, sustainably grew Rotary in Uganda and Tanzania. When Sam was a district governor, there were 3 countries that were made up that district. He grew Rotary so large, mainly in Uganda, that they split off now. Last year, Tanzania is now its own district. So Uganda is a district unto themselves. How did he do this? He did this by recruiting, energizing younger people to join Rotary. And they stayed. Their district conference, I represented the president at their district conference. Their district conference was nearly, I guess just short of 3,000 people. Not counting the Rotaract District Conference, another 2,600 people in attendance. And I'm saying Rotarians. But how did Sam manage to do this? He changed the culture of the clubs. Why and how is it manifested? If you go to a club meeting now in Uganda, and most clubs sponsor a Rotaract club, you will see, it's kind of formal, they have the chain of office and everything else, but you will see at the head table, the president of the club, the president of the Rotaract club, and the president of the Interact club equally. Equal. There's no distinction. There's no, oh, you better sit at the children's table. There's nothing like that. Culturally, it makes an impression that they want us here. It makes an impression that they're respecting us here. It makes an impression that we're welcome at this table. That's the cultural change. It was a simple thing, but it resonated throughout the clubs. And now it's a standard thing. Any Rotaractor making up at a club meeting will stand up like any other Rotarian of another club making up at that specific club and say, I'm Rotarian such and such. I'm here to enjoy the fellowship. Rotaractor. I'm Rotaractor such and such. I'm here to enjoy the fellowship. I'm not here to enjoy the fellowship per se of other Rotaractors here in this club. I'm here to enjoy the fellowship. Catch it, folks. Catch the cultural implications of why this works. It works. I mean, he proved it in Uganda. The membership growth and retention is incredible, incredible. Sam was elected and selected president because of this, because of his membership development, which we so badly need. We don't need membership development. We don't need any changes of rules or regulations. We just need changing of attitude and culture. Do that, and the membership will blossom in your area and your clubs. Okay, so how can we inspire? How can you inspire people? Bill is a broadcaster. I was fortunate to be at a Rotary Club making up in Madison. By the way, I just moved to Madison 6 months ago from Chicago. When I retired as General Secretary, the City Council and the Mayor of the City of Evanston gave me the keys to the city. And so she said, when are you moving back to Hawaii or Honolulu? I said, Madam Mayor, I'm staying here. She said, why in the world would you ever want to stay here if you live in Hawaii? I said, well, what would I do with my snowblower that, I can't take it back with me? And it was in the paper the next day, but I felt embarrassed about that. But, why move to Madison? Well, Madison is a wonderful city. It's one of the jewels of this district, I can tell you that. Now that I came to La Crosse, it's also a wonderful city. And if I'm invited to more cities in this district, then I'll keep saying this is a wonderful city. But I really mean it. La Crosse, I passed through here, but I've never stopped or stayed or visited. But, you have the mighty Mississippi here, historic, legendary, and it means something. It means a lot to our history and to the culture of the United States. This river is not just a river, folks. It's part of our heritage, it's part of our history, it's part of our lore. And look at it. It keeps flowing and flowing. It's flowing kind of swiftly now, but so don't fall in or get dragged in, or you may see Mardi Gras before Mardi Gras starts in New Orleans. Okay, so what can we as individuals do to help the growth, to help change the culture, to help inspire people to join? Well, I think you need to start by telling your story. Telling your story about, for example, about a district conference you've attended. What about it? Please don't start telling a story about your district or a district conference by saying, I went to this breakout session, or I went to this plenary session, or whatever. Tell your story about almost anything else that you think is inspirational. For example, I'm a professional district conference attendee. By the way, give me the high sign. Usually when I speak, there's a clock here. This doesn't have a clock, it has what you see there, and it counts down. And I usually ignore it anyway, but at least it's helpful, they put the clock there to tell you how much time you have. What was I talking about? Oh, tell your story. For example, I was invited as a professional district conference invitee to participate in a district conference in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, during the sesquicentennial. Who knows what that is, by the way? Yes, 150 years anniversary of the ending of the Civil War. And the district governor was a Civil War buff, so he loved the history, the lore, the stories. So he had it outside of his district. He asked Rotary, and Rotary agreed. He had it outside of his district boundaries in the city of Gettysburg. Good district conference, some good speakers. I was a speaker there. But they had a tour of the battlefields, Gettysburg. And the district governor arranged this for me and other Rotarians. But the battlefields, how many of you have been to Gettysburg? As you know, the battlefields are so large and extensive that the tour people, I guess they're tour guides or rangers, they get in your automobile and they drive you around. That's what they did to us. So they got in the district governor's vehicle, van, and drove us around and stopped at certain places telling us what happened here and et cetera, et cetera. And I noticed there were about 30 youngsters, young people, gathered around one monument. So I asked him to stop. He told me that, this is from the militia of some New England town, I forgot where, and they come every 3 to 5 years, depending on how they can get the group together, to come here and maintain, clean up, polish, whatever they do, this monument from their town's militia. Well, they were dressed up. These were northern, representing northern troops. By the way, we could represent north or south. I represented the south since I'm from Hawaii, and it's the southernmost city in the whole of the United States. So I did. I wore gray, but there's honor on both sides in this terrible conflict. But these were northern youngsters, and so I talked to them, and they were excited to tell their story. And one of them, they were in uniform. One of them had a uniform, and he told me that this button, this epaulette here, and this lapel are the original that's left from his great-great-grandfather when he fought at Gettysburg here and died at Gettysburg. I can tell you, folks, something like that is so moving. It's so life-changing. And it happens outside of a plenary session. It's so inspiring. You can't believe it. But that's how you need to extract the essence of a conference. Because I'm there thinking, we're in Rotary so that people don't have to build monuments or statues to wars and battles. That's what we're here for. That's our job, folks, to be in Rotary so we can build peace and not monuments to how we can kill each other. That is every one of you can tell stories like this from district conferences or other meetings. I guarantee you. I'll tell you one more. I have lots of these. I can ask me about my district conference in Transylvania. No, there's another one I'd rather tell you about is a district conference in Medford, Oregon. Anybody here been to Medford, Oregon? Not necessarily on the beaten path. But Medford, Oregon is known for, it used to be known for one particular industry, or it's the biggest industry in town. And that is called Fruit of the Month Club at that time. They would send you boxes of exquisite fruit every month if you bought, a set of 12. They were amazing, and this is an amazing company. At that time, it was. I guess they're still in existence, but they shrunk a little. But like any district conference, the Saturday afternoon before the governor's banquet, the governor's official banquet, there was this opportunity for the Rotarians to tour the town. So we went on a tour. And so the district governor and I were on this tour, and family members. And we went to the Harry and David factory. And I was so enthralled by what they did. I mean, it was so interesting to see all the process that goes into mailing these kind of fruits to these people every month. So I asked a lot of questions. We took a lot of time. And the poor district governor is anxious to get back to the hotel so he can get ready for it was a black tie dinner, so he had to get ready for this dinner banquet. So he kept tugging me, hurry up, excuse me. And so eventually we left. But he said, Ed, we can't go through the rest of the the tour that I had planned. We have to go right back to the hotel through a shortcut, which is through a part of town that generally we don't take people through. It's kind of a rough part of town. So, but it's quicker to get back to the hotel. So I said, fine, doesn't bother me. So we went there, and going back to the hotel, I saw a billboard, a huge billboard on the side of the road, and it was a table with a bowl, obviously a bowl of cereal, because you could see the cereal floating there, and a spoon hanging off the side. And there was a caption that said, "You don't need a spoon to feed a hungry child." That's all it said. You don't need, visually it was very impactful, but it said you don't need a spoon to feed a hungry child. Absolutely, you don't need a spoon. Because hunger is not caused by lack of food, folks. It's caused by lack of will, political will. I went to a district conference in Ethiopia, the prototypical famine country. And, you know, we talked about the famine and stuff like that. They said, that's nonsense. We don't have a famine here. We grow more grain called tiff in that area. And we export it to the rest of the African countries while their people starve. So think about that. You don't need a spoon to feed a hungry child. You need the will. You know, every person is a guest invited to fully participate in the banquet of life and happiness. No one should be excluded from this banquet table. That's what you're here as Rotarians. You are the ones to extend the invitation. Come and join us. Come and join us at this feast of life and hope. That's your commission. That's your inspiration. Because, you know, it's not just sitting and going to meetings. Your service is what provides the welcome that is so desperately needed in many parts of the world today. So remember that. Remember, I'm trying to get across, and my main theme is, remember how you feel, because this is how you're going to inspire. One last story. I know it's dangerous to stand between you and the passport. But one last story. As I say, I have lots of stories, but one last story. Another district conference that I went to in Bakersfield, California. How many people went to Bakersfield, California? It's in the middle of the Mojave Desert in California. Well, that Sunday, I was getting ready to give the closing remarks. You'll have to do that, Tim, on Saturday. But that Sunday morning, it was a Sunday morning, I had read the paper just before going to the session, the breakfast session. And there was a story, human interest story, in the newspaper about a Sunday school teacher who was quite nervous about her Sunday school class because this was the first class in which little 6-year-old Billy was returning after he had a tragic accident. His father, Billy's father, was a hobbyist that made woodworking hobbyist. And so Billy, one day, was playing with the father's tools, power tools, and amputated the fingers of all of his one hand through a tragic accident. And that's what was in this paper. So the Sunday school teacher was very nervous that she not inadvertently call attention to Billy's new handicap. No fingers on one hand. So at the end of the session, she was happy and relieved. She had nothing happen. So she said, boys and girls, before we leave today, let's do what we learned last week. Here is the church. Here is the steeple. What are you supposed to do next? Open the door and see all the people as represented by the intertwined fingers of both your hands. When that happened, she was aghast because she didn't realize it was a horrible mistake. But before she could do anything or apologize, this little girl sitting right next to Billy said, Billy, I'll lend you one of my hands, and together we can build church. Out of the mouths of babes comes incredible wisdom. Those are the things we need to learn at district conferences because, again, it's applicable to Rotarians. Isn't that what Rotary is asking you to do? Folks, would you lend us a hand so that together we can build Rotary? Folks, would you lend us a hand so that together we can make our communities better and stronger? Folks, will you lend us a hand so that together we can start the process of making peace? Folks, would you lend us a hand so that together we can start to invite more people to join us at this wonderful banquet table of life and hope? And that is our mission. That is our ministry. That is what should inspire us all. Look at district conferences in that light. And it'll be easy for you to inspire other Rotarians. Look at district conferences at that light, and it will be easy for you to change Rotary's culture. Don't worry about changing the rules and regulations. Change Rotary's culture, because you will be changed if you know the impact of your membership and you use it properly. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you.